So currently, I'm in Peru, but on my way here, I made a stop in New York City where I'm originally from. And can you believe that I experienced culture shock? Because I cannot. I've been living in London for a little over a year, and I have been away from New York for 6 months, but somehow during those 6 months, I have gotten so acclimated to London that when I landed in New York, a lot of things shocked me. Actually, to be real, just a few things shocked me. So this is gonna be a short video about the minor reverse culture shocks that I experienced visiting my hometown. Number one was money. Now, don't get me wrong, London is not a cheap city, and this is not a comparison. I think I just forgot how expensive New York is. And I am someone who was born and raised in New York City. I didn't realize New York was an expensive place because when you're in a place, you're just in a place. You don't really, you're not comparing it to some place you've never been before. So I didn't realize New York was an expensive city until I read an article about the most expensive cities in the world. And I think Brooklyn was number 3 or something like that. It was Honolulu, San Francisco, Manhattan, Brooklyn, some other places that I'm not remembering right now. But that was in my early 20s when I realized, oh, I live in an expensive city. Now, as someone who's way older and just more cognizant of prices of things, coming back to New York, paying for an Uber after a snowstorm, girl, the shock that I experienced at the cost of things was just a lot. On top of that, in the UK, in London, taxes are baked in. I was coming to New York and I was adding Vermont to my trip as a last minute situation. So I needed a few things and it was just the best to send those things to my parents' house instead of to my apartment in London, just due to the short amount of time. And I realized that I would see a price, let's say $100, right? I was getting some investment pieces. So I would see a price for snow boots and I'm like, oh, cool, $100, bet. Go to order them. Go to checkout, there's additional money I have to pay. I forgot that taxes are not baked into the prices, not just in New York, but in America in general. I remember when I first came to London, I was on a date with a Londoner and he asked me, how do you live like that? Essentially, he was just like, how do you live like that? How do you go somewhere and not know the full price? And I was like, I don't know, that's just how I live. And it's so funny to come back to New York, just sort of be shocked by the fact that the price I see isn't exactly the price that I'm gonna pay. So that was a shocker. Taxes not being baked into the price already. Just the costs in general, specifically Ubers. I landed at JFK and I swear, and it might be due to the fact that I landed, I think 2 days after the snowstorm, but I swear the price from the airport to my house was double the price that it used to be. I know the price and it has definitely doubled since the last time I was in New York. Again, it could have been due to the snowstorm, but it was a shock to the system. Let me just say that it was a shock to the system. I wish I would have planned better and asked a friend or my brother to pick me up instead. Again, I do think it was due to the fact that New York had just gone through a snowstorm and maybe there was a shortage of cabs because people had their cars snowed in. Maybe people taking advantage of the fact that people did not want to be in the cold, because I sure as hell did not. There was no way in hell I was taking any form of public transportation in that freezing cold. Overall, money was really a shock to the system for me. I was coming from already an expensive city. Then I'm not saying London isn't expensive. This is not a comparison video. It's just what shocks me coming back home video. Moving on, MTA. She's still stinky. She's still dirty. You know, that wasn't a shock, but there are new trains. There are new trains and they were really cool to see. There are new turnstiles that are supposed to stop fare evasion. From what I've been told and what I've seen, I don't think it's really doing that. New trains, I'm actually really happy about that. But the subway as a whole, still dirty. I walked down to a station, I think it was around 42nd Street, and I physically recoiled from the smell. Yeah, I forgot about that. As someone who's been taking MTA since the 5th grade, so 10 years old, I have a lot of gripes with MTA. So I'm not gonna get into that. It was fun to see the new trains, but it was also a reverse culture shock going back into the public transportation system where it's just dirty. It's just really, I wasn't mentally prepared for that. I forgot how dirty MTA could be. And I was quickly reminded. Also, it's $3 now to get on the train.
Because this is not $3 worth. No.
I don't know if that's a reverse culture shock or just a general shock and disappointment. But yeah, it's now $3 to get on MTA. But I guess we have to pay for those new trains somehow, right? I don't know. But that was a bit of a shock to see. Yeah, I guess MTA will always shock me. As I've mentioned in another video, I have seen things I should not have seen on MTA, and I'm sure that will continue for the rest of my life whenever I show up in New York and have to take MTA. This one's minor, but turning on the lights for the bathroom inside the bathroom. I don't know why. I actually have never looked into this, but all the lights for the bathroom in the UK are outside the bathroom. I'm sure there's a legitimate reason for it. I don't know why it is, but I was walking in my family home and I would go to turn on the bathroom light outside the bathroom and I'm like, oh wait, I'm not in the UK anymore. So that was a minor reverse culture shock. And then finally, the intensity of the weather. I have only done two winters in London. I've only done 2 winters in London and they have been pretty mild. We had a cold front in London a few weeks before I left and that was a shock to me, but nothing as intense as what I experienced when I landed in New York. And to be fair, not every winter in New York is the way it is right now. It's a really intense, severe weather right now. New York winter is not like that every year. I feel like New York has more of a capacity for extreme weathers. I was reminded of that when I landed in New York after the snowstorm that it encountered. I have not encountered extreme weather in London yet. Again, it's only been a little over a year that I've been living there. Also, for what I've heard from people, London doesn't really get snow. It doesn't get super cold. It doesn't get super hot, even though I did experience my first London heat wave while living there this summer and I loved it. I loved every moment because I love the heat, but I don't think London gets extreme weather like New York can. Also, I think I had just forgotten how cold New York winter can be. I will say though, there is a higher chance for sunlight while it's cold in New York, while in London, good luck for sun during the winter time. And to be fair to New York, it's not often that winter is this bad for so long too, but it was bad when I landed there and it was a shock. So those are the culture shocks that I experienced after returning to New York after 6 months, which is really weird. I didn't think I would experience reverse culture shock so quickly because I've been living in New York my entire life. The last time I was there was 6 months ago. So it's just weird that things like turning on the light to the bathroom, not having taxes baked in, the cost of Ubers have just switched up so much in that short amount of time. So I'm gonna be really interested to see what else pops up that shocks me the longer that I'm away from New York. I think after this May, I won't be going back to New York for a really long time. We'll see what happens, but it was nice to be back in my hometown. There is an energy to New York that cannot be replicated anywhere else. And it's always interesting to be back in it. Okay, if you are someone who has also experienced reverse culture shock, no matter how small or how big, please share them. I find those really interesting. I didn't think I would be someone who would experience it because I don't know. I just figured that London and New York are sort of similar, so I wouldn't experience anything too different, but I did. I'm really interested in hearing about other people's experience with reverse culture shock. So please share that and I'll see you in the next video. Alrighty.